Hi everyone, my name is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another behind the scenes video. Today we're going to make some dragon fruit embeds to go into the next soap, and I'm going to be using some PVC pipe molds to do this, and this time I'm going to do it in a two-step process. Let's go. Okay, so we've got our oils down to room temperature, and into here I'm going to add in my titanium dioxide. Now I've got two different types of titanium dioxide. I have got a oil dispersible and a water dispersible, and today I'm going to add in my oil dispersible because I am only using white in this part of the base, and I just want to see how this goes. I've had this one for a while, I just don't use it very often. Let's get that mixed in, and then we'll pour in our sodium hydroxide distilled water solution in here, mix it up into an emulsion, and then we've got just a few bits to add in. Okay, so that is all in, and the first thing I'm going to add in here is a couple of teaspoons of poppy seeds, just to give it that look of the seeds in the dragon fruit. And I've actually put this whole jar of poppy seeds through the blender just to get a finer sort of grain on them so that it's not so scratchy. Let's get that mixed in. So our poppy seeds are now in. It's time to add in our fragrance, and this is a dragon fruit inspired fragrance, and I'll give you more information about this one in the weekend's video, so make sure you tune in for that. I'm adding it in here because this embed is going to be quite a large embed. It will also give me a idea of how this fragrance oil behaves. The design I've got in mind isn't too complicated, so it doesn't matter if it does accelerate. But, you know, it's always good to have records on hand in case you decide to reuse that fragrance. Alright, so this is looking really good. It is smelling great, and I'm going to start, first of all, by pouring all of this into a 4 centimeter PVC mold. And this is smelling so good. I hope this holds throughout the whole saponification and cure process as well. Let's get this one poured in. So inside my PVC pipe I've got an end cap on it so it doesn't come out, and I have just lined it with some grease proof paper, which will make it much easier to pull out once this is set. So let's get all of this in. So I've just given that a bit of a knockdown to knock out any air bubbles. I'm going to leave this one set overnight, and then we're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to do the next part of this dragon fruit soap. So it has been about 24 hours since I have poured this, and it's all nicely set up. I'm going to take the end cap off, and I find it easiest to get one of these non-slip mats that you can get to put in the bottom of your kitchen drawers, just so I can get a good grip on it and then pull it straight off. So now we need to get this out of here. Oh, and this one's going to come out nice and easy. I've just pushed on the end and it's coming on out. And let's get it unrolled. It's looking really good. It's a nice white colour we've got on this as well. Now that I've got this out, I have got these 2 toothpicks here, and I've cut them so that they are the same diameter or the same length as the diameter of my pipe here. And what I'm going to do is, with each of these, at the end of this, I'm going to come down about 1/2 centimetre down the side of it, down here, and I'm going to push that straight through and out the other side. Oh, it would probably come upwards a little bit too much. I want it to go relatively straight. That's better. And then we want it to come out of the sides evenly on each of these. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. Now, with these toothpicks, I've got them positioned in such a way that when it comes time to actually cutting the soap, they will actually come, or cutting the embed to go in the soap, they will no longer be in the embed piece. So we've got those in there. Now what I'm going to do is grab my mold, and we are just going to very carefully pop this piece down Alright, and the idea of those toothpicks is now that that should hold our little embed in the center of our column mold while we pour the rest of the soap. Alright, so let's move on to making the soap. I've got my oils and my lye water solution, and I want my this layer just to be the one colour. Now, if you've ever seen a dragon fruit, depending upon the species that you get, they are generally white in the middle with those black seeds, and then you have this brilliant pink outer layer before you get these little spikes of bright green. So I'm going to go and attempt to make the bright pink layer. So I've just put in some raspberry rush mica, and just to really make that pop, I've got some Fandango neon as well. So I'm going to mix them together and see what color I've got before I go adding in my lye solution, just to make sure that we have got the right color here. Well, I think that is a perfect dragon fruit colouring there. I am also going to add my fragrance oil in now. We'll give that a mix up, add in our lye water solution, stir that until it comes to a emulsion to light trace, and then we're going to pour it into that mould. Okay, so that is now all nicely filled, hopefully. I've given it a good knock down to knock out any air bubbles. I did have to make up a little bit more soap for this with the hot process method. First time I used and calculated for this mold, I actually calculated at my normal 32% water, but because we are quite warm and sticky again, I decided to drop my water down to 30%, but didn't actually account for the fact that that would give me less volume. So I've had to make up that little bit extra soap to go in here to make sure that we've got a whole embed for our weekend soap. So I'm going to leave this one sit overnight, and I'm going to show you in just a moment what our dragon fruit embed looks like. Okay, so this is now all set up in the mold. It's time to get it out. So what I've got is a non-slip cloth. These are the things that you can buy to go in the bottom of drawers, but they're really good for opening up things like jars and getting caps off the bottom of these tubes, because it gives you a really good grip. So we've got that one off. Let's pull that bit out, and now I am, first of all, what I'm going to do is actually on the top of here, I am just going to put a mark, because that is the end where I've got my toothpicks and I want to cut that off. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a push just to get it going. And because I line it with that freezer paper, it just comes out nice and smooth. Now I can see we've got some air holes in there from where I've had to change over the soap, but because we've got that soap dough, I'm going to be able to fill in all of those air gaps. You can definitely see we had a few issues there. I'm going to have to fix up my calculations based on using that 30%. Right, so I'm just going to grab that soap dough that we made up here. We'll give that a bit of a squish. And then I'm just going to start filling in all of these gaps. Part of the problem as to why I actually got all these really big air pockets here, and you know, it just wasn't flowing down the mold, is because, as I said, I did that second part using the heat transfer method, and I actually notice a real difference in trace when you use the heat transfer method as opposed to just being patient and waiting for your oils to come down. But I really didn't have much choice if I wanted to get this mold filled. I noticed that when I use the heat transfer method, my oils and lye solution come to trace a lot quicker, and because it came to trace a lot quicker than if I just had enough of my soap mix to start with, it was a lot thicker when I went to pour it into the mold, so I had real trouble with getting it to go all the way down my mold, and that is how I've ended up with so many really deep air pockets. But if you've ever looked at a dragon fruit, they are lumpy and bumpy when you get them, because they have all their little leaves and stuff sticking out. So I'm not bothered if this isn't nice and round and smooth like the other end is, because it's going to give it that more realistic look to this piece of dragon fruit. I am pretty impressed that I pretty much managed to get the two colors almost identical there. So hopefully you won't really see that much of a difference between the bars, other than a couple of them looking a little bit rougher than others. Let's get all of that filled in. Roll that over and fill up these couple of pockets here. So now that is all done and I'm pretty happy with how that's come up, it's time to get it trimmed up to go into the soap mold. I'm actually just going to straighten that end up, just using my knife there. We'll leave that to one side. It may be useful for an embed for something later on, who knows. What I'm going to do is grab my piece here and my mold. I'm going to butt the one end up against that end of the mold, and then I'm just going to make a mark with my knife into this end. So I've got my little mark on there, and then we're going to chop off this end, and that should get rid of those toothpicks that we've got in there, so that poses absolutely no danger to anybody. And now this should be long enough that it will fit nice and snug into our soap mold. Okay, so now that I know that is going to fit in there, what I'm going to go and do is go and get the oils ready so we can make the soap for the weekend. I hope you've enjoyed watching how I have made my dragon fruit embed and how I've fixed a couple of those issues up on the bottom of this one. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments and questions down below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And until the weekend's video, I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you then. Bye.